Hello and welcome. My name is John Burgos, and I lead the business development efforts for MindGate Solutions in the North and South American market. Real-time payments, also referred to as RTP, is the new global buzzword in the payments ecosystem today. RTP is being driven by end customers' requirements for speed, convenience, and security. RTP has already been implemented in more than 20 countries and is being well received by customers everywhere. America has been the latest nation to join the initiative with the Clearinghouse's RTP offering. And coming in 2023, the Federal Reserve Bank will be launching its RTP service called FedNow. With a global footprint, MindGate Solutions has been at the helm of RTP and currently processes over 1 billion RTP transactions per month. Today, we have with us an esteemed panel to share their views on real-time payments and the road ahead. The panel comprises of Reed Lieutenant, the Executive Director for U.S. Faster Payments Council, Sony Aravind, Head of Digital Banking at South Indian Bank, Matish Agarwal, Customer Engineering Director at Google Cloud, and Sanjay Desai, Executive Vice President of IT at Hdfc Bank. Thank you all for joining me today, and let us begin with Reed. So Reed, as the head of the FPC, can you inform us what the goals are for the Faster Payments Council?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. First, I think I should talk a little bit about where the FPC came from and how we came to be. A group of industry leaders were brought together by the Federal Reserve in the United States to look at how can we ensure that there is inclusivity and transparency in the transition from the legacy and existing payment systems to these new instant and faster payment systems that were coming into the market. And so the FPC was stood up by that group with the ideals and principles of inclusivity and transparency as our core. And what that means is that we bring together all the different stakeholders in the industry to try to tackle these important issues. And what those are, and to your point, what are the goals of the FPC? We're looking at advancing ubiquity of faster payments to ensure that every deposit account has access, security and ease of use to make sure that everybody who's using them is secure when they're using them, they know how to use it, and it's easy for them to do that.
Interesting, Reed. So, in the last couple of years, there has been a lot of talk about faster payments, and more recently, a lot of talk about digital payments. Do you see a correlation between the two? And if so, can you please explain?
Absolutely. There is an incredible amount of overlap between when we talk about digital payments and we talk about faster payments. And I think, as everybody knows, the shift to digital has been remarkable for the last 10 years, but it's been really, truly accelerated this year with all the effects of the global pandemic. We're seeing in the United States, 30% of groceries are now purchased online. 42% of restaurants in the United States added delivery service this year. So just remarkable how much digital has been adopted. And when it comes to, especially with verticals that are now getting into digital payments, they're going to be very interested in what are the options, what's out there in this space, as are the consumers. So 66% of consumers in the United States view touchless payments as a way of stopping the spread of COVID-19. So that's the sort of thing that I think will be sticky going forward, and the sort of thing that we can really leverage when we're talking about faster payments in terms of how do we ensure that faster payments are in that space and able to be used by consumers and by businesses to conduct the transactions they're looking to conduct, whether that's remote or in person.
Thank you, Reed, for your views. Next, we have Sony, who's head of digital banking at South Indian Bank, to give us a banker's view into the ecosystem. So, Sony, what are some of the key enablers in the growth of your digital payments?
Thank you, John. South Indian Bank is actually a part of a large banking industry in India, where we have seen tremendous growth in the options that are available for digital payments over the last decade. In fact, we were one of the early adopters of most of these payment options, starting with real-time gross settlement way back in 2004, which was the first attempt for real-time payments in India. That was immediately followed by various other options. And in 2010, we had the first 24/7 real-time payment option, which could be enabled from a mobile device, which was brought out by NPCI, or National Payment Corporation of India, which was the umbrella organization which acted as the facilitator to provide an interoperable system. Subsequently, in the next decade, we saw a lot of different payment options, with one of them being the Aadhaar-enabled payment system, which meant that the actual financial inclusion can hit the remotest corners of India, where a person can use their fingerprint to withdraw money. We also had various other innovative options coming up in the form of Bharat bill payment, where we had all the payment options of billers in utility companies, insurance companies, educational institutions for fee payment, everything coming under one portal, which could then be integrated by the various banks to offer a single experience to the customers. We also had check truncation system and various other such options. Of late, we have also had the QR-based payment system called Bharat QR, which has also made a dent in the payment space, with a lot of interest being seen. However, the one that I would call as the major enabler in this entire journey has been the unified payment interface. UPI, as it is popularly known, has been an experiment which has really taken India by surprise, because when we started off, and I'm very proud of the fact that we were one of the first banks out of the 20 odd banks which were in a pilot mode way back in 2016-17, which went live. Ours was the first live case, because we had to actually comply not only with the technical specifications, but we also had to ensure that thousands of our staff members had enrolled on the UPI platform on our app, and they also had to do around 5,000 odd transactions on the platform. So all of this together meant that we had to do this in a very short while, and we were the first ones to do that. And our actual use case was showcased by NPCI to the then finance minister, to the governor of our Reserve Bank. And that journey, when we did started off, never appeared to be one which would scale up to this level, where as we speak, in the month of September, we have had 180 crore from a total pan-India basis for all banks together transactions. That is around a huge number of transactions that has happened, 1.8 billion transactions on UPI. So to me, that as of now looks like the biggest enabler for the digital payments in the country, and we are no different. The other point that I wanted to add there is that what this has also done is that this has actually decoupled the entire payment, where my customers are now on various other business partners apps, and they are doing their transactions using various apps, various different type of non-banking apps also. But at the end of the day, we end up processing those transactions. So that's a new business enabler that has come in, where we are getting an opportunity to partner with so many diverse players in this segment.
Wow. Being one of the first digital payment adopters in India, you clearly had a long journey with fintech companies. So how has your collaboration with fintech companies brought value to the bank and ecosystem?
Thank you, John. It's a great question. And probably I will cite your own organization as the best example that we have had in the fintech journey. So as a bank, we were very clear early on that there needs to be a win-win relationship with any partner, be it large, medium, small, etc. And over a period of time, we figured out that there are very niche players in the market who are looking at segments which the large players cannot even dream of entering, due to the kind of complexities that new, or the innovations that that new product demanded. And the story of MindGate is pretty similar as far as SIB or South Indian Bank is concerned. When MindGate started, I remember when they approached us initially, they were a very small fintech company which were looking into central government disbursal of planned funds, which later on got evolved into the huge popular Aadhaar-based payment bridge, which today is saving crores and crores of money for the central government, because it removes the complete intermediary layer that used to be there earlier. So that was what they were doing at that point of time. And we wanted a partner who can provide us a plugin so that our customers can also enjoy the benefits of these kind of online disbursements. Since then, we have had so many rounds of conversations with the founders, who we figured out to be very passionate and involved in this whole game. And we have been guiding them all along, looking at what or how the ecosystem is evolving. So I still remember having this conversation with the founders, telling them very clearly that a decade back that they missed the IMPS bus, because that was something that they had not prepared themselves. But they were very, very keen to take that advice back, went back to the drawing board. And by the time UPI was ready in 2016, they were the leading players who had a platform ready. And today, to know that, almost 70, I guess 70 to 80% of India's UPI transactions, the 1.8 billion transactions that happen, is being processed by a fintech company like MindGate, is a clear example of how a fintech bank partnership can blossom into, where each one recognizes the strength of the others. The banks guide them in terms of the roadmaps, the problem areas that might come up in the future, and the fintech getting ready for those kind of problems with innovative solutions well ahead, so that then they can capture the market in a very quick period of time, and all along not lose the nimbleness and the passion that is found in a fintech company. Thank you.
Thank you, Sony, for those kind words. We at MindGate are proud to say that our passion and zeal is powered by the continuous and esteemed support of your team. Up next on this panel, we have Matish Agarwal from Google Cloud. So Matish, how much do you believe has been the contribution of fintech companies and social media payments in the real-time ecosystem to drive consumer consumption?
Thank you for the question, John. I think the contribution of fintech companies and social media payments is just phenomenal, especially over the last few months that we've seen with the pandemic. I think that the whole digital ecosystem, the digital consumer behavior has really come to the fore. If I just give you an example of India, just 4 years back when UPI began around the same time, there were hardly any transactions. If I remember right, the transactions were roughly like 1 million transactions that all of India was doing. And just in August 2020, we had over 1.6 billion transactions that were happening on the UPI platform alone. If you look at Google's perspective, we are at the core and center of innovation along with fintech companies and social media payments providers, whether it's with the API ecosystem, whether it's with the data and AI, or with driving consumer behavior. Our belief is that this ecosystem is really going to grow phenomenally by leaps and bounds, and technology that we can provide in terms of easing that digital customer experience is going to be front and center of everything that fintech companies and social media payments providers will do as we move forward.
So Matish, do you see the fintech companies delivering value via innovations, customer experience for banks and corporates?
Oh, absolutely. If you really look at it in the past, people used Moore's law and Metcalfe's law to really see the way they delivered software and infrastructure. Whereas the world has moved with fintech companies delivering innovation and customer experience using Conway's law. Conway's law essentially says that, the way you communicate within your organization, the way you are organized within your organization is the way you will deliver innovations and customer experience using infrastructure and software. If you really look at the way Google has innovated with fintech companies is to really marry Conway's law to essentially 3 elements or building blocks of the way we innovate. The first one is the way we modernize infrastructure using Google Cloud. I think we built a lot of properties, billions of users that use Google Cloud today. The second part is the way we go ahead and allow fintech organizations to deliver better customer experience and innovations using application modernization tools like Kubernetes. And the third and eventual one is the way we have gone ahead and done the entire development of the API ecosystem using our Apigee platform. I think when you bring in all 3 together, we deliver a world-class experience for consumers, which we allow the fintech companies to innovate, co-innovate with them, as well as innovate for our customers in the banking and corporate world. Thank you.
Thank you, Matish. I couldn't agree more. The synergies of fintech with Google continue to deliver innovations. Up next on this panel, we have Sanjay Desai from Hdfc Bank, India's largest private bank. So Sanjay, how has your collaboration with fintech companies brought value to the bank and ecosystem?
Hdfc Bank has been born digital. I still remember the days pre-2000 where we were all worried about Y2K and all, and those problems didn't even become problems at all. But what we realized that time is that it is important to be digital, to be there in this connected world, and to build journeys which are customer friendly. Since inception, we have focused all our energies on enhancing our digital ecosystem. In this journey, the fintech partnerships have played an integral role. We have seen a lot of Indian-based homegrown companies grow with us in this journey, whether it is for core banking, or it is for your retail loans, or it is for your anti-money laundering solutions, your data analytics, your customer relationship management systems. We have seen and witnessed the growth of both ourselves and the fintech companies together, nurturing each other's growth requirements. Let us take the story of UPI payments. UPI was launched somewhere in 2016, and the first 3 months were lukewarm. And then the story changed. Somewhere in between, demonetization came. And we suddenly see another surge. In the last 2 years, we have seen phenomenal growth in UPI. We use the MindGate switch to harness the power of UPI payments. In the last 4 years, our payments have grown from 0 to 30 million plus every day. And this is still growing. It's still growing every day, every month we are seeing a growth. It is growing at the rate of around 2,000 transactions per second. You could imagine what will happen if for a few seconds also, if the system is not available. This is 2,000 transactions per second I'm talking about. After COVID, this has only become more and more demanding. There is a demand for contactless payments. There is a demand for QR code-based payments. And that is what has changed the requirement, the business ecosystem, even much more. Hence, I feel it is very, very important that we partner with the fintech players. It is a world of collaboration. Without collaboration, we will not be able to survive this heavy demand that a country like India generates.
Clearly, Sanjay, has been a really long and productive journey with FinTech's for HDFC, and collaborations, as you rightfully said, is now a prerequisite in this ecosystem. What changes to your approach has enabled you to adapt to the demands of real-time payments and their exponential growth?
Thank you, John, for asking me this question. This is a question that's very close to my heart, being a hardcore technologist. As you can see, since the last 3 years, there is a heavy demand on extreme scale computing. We have been focusing on implementing on-premise, elastic, and highly scalable cloud-native solutions. From born digital, we are now becoming born in the cloud. We first started with rewriting our middleware platform and deployed it on Kubernetes on-premise cloud. We also repurposed our 1,000+ services on the middleware and converted them into REST-based APIs. As you know, without APIs, the collaboration is impossible. Then we shifted our attention to the corporate side. We ported our corporate internal portal onto a Docker-based container platform, cloud platform. And this too has given us big time benefits. As we speak, we are currently on the journey of re-architecting our UPI switch using Spring Boot-based microservices framework and deploying it onto a highly scalable cloud platform within our data center. With this kind of architecture, we will also be able to spin up additional containers dynamically based on seasonal spikes of workload and festive season demands. These solutions help in building infinite scale at reasonably efficient cost structures. Apart from this, we are also redesigning many of our applications, the critical ones, to work in an active mode across 2 data centers. Mind you, this is a very complex technology requirement. Active is not as simple as it seems, because you have to redesign the database replication, you have to redesign the application connectivity architecture, the network load balancing, everything has to be rebuilt. And then it has to be tested periodically for resilience. We are very excited about this journey, and this would not have been possible without the latest generation technology solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. It was really nice to have you on board with us today. And on that note, we come to the last flag of this session. I would like to request our esteemed speakers here to share their views on where would they like to see the state of real-time payments in 5 years?
I think, first of all, what you're going to see is just tremendous growth and adoption of faster payments. Financial institutions are coming online every year. I think you're going to see a lot of advancements and a lot of progress being made when it comes to cross-border and figuring out how do we work with other nations and other markets to conduct faster payments transactions across international boundaries. I think you're going to see the emergence of a lot of new and interesting use cases. And here's my sort of bold prediction is we're going to see the creation of entirely new business models fueled by this new technology.
With the advent of AI and ML-based technologies, we must focus on how to make this entire digital payments journey frictionless. Let me elaborate that a little. See, all customers, most of them, have very specific needs for their daily and monthly payments. Most of our payments are either those monthly bills that we have to pay or the monthly grocery items, which are mostly standardized in nature. About 80 to 90% of them are standard. The amounts are more or less in range. And most of those payments are becoming online now due to post-COVID. I would like the AI and ML-based risk engines in the future to give us the confidence of doing such payments in a highly automated and yet secure manner, but making the experience very frictionless. If we are able to analyze repetitive customer payments using AI ML engines and filter out the noise, and then give the comfort that these payments are genuine transactions, there is a possibility that we may be able to make the experience with less or no friction. Secondly, I would like to empower the rural India to do more digital payments. This has many benefits. Apart from the customers, it has a benefit also to the country. As you may be aware, many of the e-tailers are now supplying the online purchased items to tier 2 cities as much or more than they would have distributed in the past to the tier 1 cities. It's obvious that the rural India is waking up to this new day and age of digital payments. It's only that the geographies need to spread a little more. The network is already there. We have 600 to 700 million smartphone users in the country. We have about 60% of our population, which is less than 35 to 40. I would like the rural India to be able to use a smartphone to make digital payments using their native language. This will help to make most of the economy cashless and encourage safety and improve the consumption too.
Well, I think the state of faster payments is already happening in India with the pace at which UPI is growing. But I think there are a number of areas, and if I can crystallize them down to 3 parts. The first one is really, the way we see an API first strategy where we involve open banking and so on. And I think that is going to massively accelerate payments over the next 5 years. The second really is the whole amalgamation of technology and culture together. I think that's going to be a very important part, because unless we organizations, especially the banks and corporates, become technology first, digital first, not only on the technology side, but also on the culture side, we will see that aid a lot more in terms of faster payments. The third, and I think a very important thing that I've heard from a lot of stakeholders, is really the monetization aspect. I think we can use data, AI, APIs, for example, to be the core and center of monetization, but we need to have all the players in that ecosystem, the fintech providers, the banks, the PSPs, all of them really be able to monetize this. So in my mind, if I really look at it for the next 5 years, network centrality in the 21st century needs to match payment centrality as well. So according to me, in the next 5 years is going to be fascinating for payments as we move forward. Thank you.
India is a country which actually has a lot of diversity in its population. And this is reflected in a big way in the options that are available on the digital payment front also. We have everything under the sun, starting with QR, UPI, card-based, and a host of others, even supporting non-smartphone ecosystem. Now, it will be very hard and challenging for any person in the front end of this journey to recommend or make a prediction about what's going to happen in the next 5 years in the digital front. But one point that I'm pretty sure about is that, as in any other case, there are options that are going to emerge as champions. There are options that are going to play only in niche segments. And in this, to continue with this trail, you would soon recognize that the online options, such as UPI, is definitely going to take off from where it is today to levels which would take all of us by surprise. And that's because of the convenience that it offers. The second trend that I'm foreseeing is on the feature phone front, where we could probably see a lot of innovative options coming up with FinTech's and other players imagining new solutions around this large chunk of India's population who uses feature phone. The third development that I anticipate is on the national mobility card, which is the first experiment of offline transactions that we hope to see very soon. This would cater to the small ticket transactions getting removed from the real-time or online system and getting confined to an offline environment, which is definitely more fraud prone, but the impact would be minimal and it wouldn't have a huge hit on the core systems of the banks and the players. Now, while these payments evolve on its own, I am anticipating a lot of changes happening on the fraud and risk control measures. One such step that the Reserve Bank has already set up is, or starting to set up, is a central fraud registry where every player would now be mandatorily required to register all their frauds, the digital frauds that happen in their ecosystems, which then gives a 360-degree view to all the players in the ecosystem to learn, to draw insights, and to then develop controls which will prevent and mitigate such type of frauds in the future. The third thing is around having network level fraud control. So while there could be a portal which everybody can plug onto, we would also see a lot of these networks, be it from NPCI, be it from Visa and Master, enhance their fraud control measures as more and more payment options become interoperable, wherein one bank alone probably may not be able to enforce a lot of fraud risk measures because one leg of the transaction would probably be in a zone which is outside the bank's control, which is where the importance of the network comes in. Lastly, what I anticipate is around the cybersec measures that are required, because any time that any digital payment option becomes more prominent and popular, there would be a lot of people who would start abusing the system, start looking at the vulnerabilities, and therefore it is very critical that banks start focusing, which they already do, and start building on all the latest technologies that are available on the cybersecurity front, so that we have a complete and comprehensive system up and running, which will protect the interest of the bank stakeholders and its customers. Thank you.
So, as you can see, with so much opportunity still not explored and untapped, we can only expect to see more adoption and further innovations in RTP after it's all said and done. On that note, we conclude this session, and on behalf of MindGate, I would like to thank all of our speakers and attendees who have participated in this session. Our contact information are mentioned below, and our team will be available to connect with you on this virtual edition of Cybos 2020. Thank you, and have a nice Cybos.